Good afternoon. My name is Sophia Athan. I am a student assistant here at the Bob Graham Center, and I will be the moderator for the Alachua County Commission panel for Districts 1, 2, and 4. Welcome, candidates, and thank you for joining us today. There are two candidates for the County Commission District 1 seat, Mary Alfred and Ramey Eagle Glenn. There are also two candidates for County Commission District 2, Ed Brady and Mary Helen Wheeler. And there are three candidates for County Commission District 4, Ken Cornell, Van Elmore, and Anthony Johnson. All of the candidates will appear on the general election ballot, but Van Elmore and Anthony Johnson were invited, but unfortunately unable to attend today's event. Now, Alachua County Commissioners are elected for a 4-year term with no term limits. Seats are elected by the county at large. All registered voters in Alachua County, regardless of their place in residence, may cast a vote in all county commission races. At the time of the election, candidates must live in the district that they would represent. Now, the format of the forum will be as follows. Each candidate will have 1 minute to read an opening statement. And following the opening statements, I will read questions prepared by the League of Women Voters. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer. There will be 3 questions asked of the candidates. I will rotate the order in which they respond by name alphabetically and also by district. After the questions have been answered, each candidate will have time for a 1-minute closing statement. The order of the closing statements will be in reverse order from the opening statements. Now, candidates, you will be able to see the timer indicating your remaining time at 15 seconds and also when you should stop speaking. Please stop when your time is up or your microphone may be muted. Now, we will begin with the candidates' opening statements. There will be a light chime at about 15 seconds, and then there will be a louder sound when the time is up. You each have 1 minute, and we will begin with the candidates in District 1 in alphabetical order. Starting with Mary Alfred, your opening statement, please. Yes, just press that button.
All right. Hello. I'm Mary Alfred, running for Alachua County Commission District 1. Many of you know me. I was elected 2 years ago, and this is a real surprise to have to run again, but I'm glad to have the chance to talk to you today. I'm a native Floridian, 7th generation. I was born here in Gainesville and currently reside in the small city of Archer. I graduated from the University of Florida, from also PK Young when I was from high school, and also from Santa Fe College. I'm the mother of 4 kids, and I'm the oldest of 9 children. And, I really loved growing up in Gainesville. I'm a business owner. I've been a business owner for 15, 16 years. And I did close my business this last December, but I know the trials of being a business owner. I'm an environmental engineer, and I hope to bring that knowledge and expertise to the commission again. And I look forward to answering the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. There's your sound. Ramey Eagle Glenn, your statement, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. It truly is an honor and a privilege to be participating in having a discussion with all of you for the good of the whole county. My name is Ramey Eagle Glenn. I serve as your county commissioner for District 1, and I have discovered that serving on the county commission is very practical. Most times, I will agree with my colleagues on the county commission. We're dealing with budgets, we're dealing with roads, we're dealing with development projects and making decisions on how to grow smart. One of my main priorities is funding law enforcement. We are in a state right now where we're not able to recruit sheriff deputies, and it's become dangerous to the community because a parole shift is minus about 4 or 5 deputies to what needs to be a safe level. So one of my goals is to adequately fund law enforcement to keep our community safe. Another strong goal of mine...
Sorry, that is time.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to opening statements from the District 2 candidates, starting with Ed Brady.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Ed Brady. I'm running for Alachua County Commission District 2. Thank you for the Bob Graham Forum for hosting us. This is a great event. A little small anecdote. My grandfather and his brother worked for Captain Graham, who is this namesake's father. Don't know if that gets many brownie points, but if you're on the fence, maybe, just... Anyway, I served as mayor of Gainesville from 2013 to 2016, and I also was a two-term city commissioner in 2002, 2008. Perhaps the principal reason I'm running is to break what I call the one-party mindset. Different faces come and go, but pretty much we've had one dominant ideology in power in local government to try and solve our problems, yet we have a laundry list of the same localized problems. Not much has changed. Same problem. So I'm encouraging voters to just try something different for a change and vote for Ed Brady. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Helen Wheeler, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mary Helen Wheeler, and I am currently serving as the chair of the Alachua County Board of Commissioners, and my first term, and I'm running for re-election. As your commissioner, I am a retired teacher and have been able to work across the county with the different municipalities, schools that I have worked with while I was teaching at Westwood Middle School, and also the school board. Now, as a commissioner, I'm able to work with those folks. And I've been able to work with the municipalities throughout the county, not only because of the education interests that I've had, the different students that I've taught that are now young adults out in the community. I followed them out after I retired in 2016 to make sure that they're getting the services they need, because not everybody went to the University of Florida. And I will say that I am working with criminal justice, social issues, mental health, and substance abuse issues with Career Source and other agencies that are trying to serve those students now. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the District 4 candidate will present his opening statement. Ken Cornell.
Good afternoon, everybody. What a pleasure to be here. I want to thank the league, thank the Bob Graham Center, and really thank our entire community. I see a number of familiar faces, and it's a pleasure to speak to you all today. I'm running for office for my third term, and what's important to me is that we continue to invest in our kids and our neighborhoods, that we protect our water and our environment, and continue to invest in public safety and our roads. We've got a number of issues that we've started to tackle over my 2 terms, and I would love the honor to be reelected by each of you so that we can continue on that progress. I'm a product of the public school system. I went to Terwilliger, Fort Clark, Buchholz. I was brainwashed as a Gator, so I only applied to the University of Florida. That's where I met my wife of 32 years. I've got 2 boys, Connor, who's 29, Christopher, who's 27, and I look forward to sharing more about myself and the issues today. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to our prepared questions. You will have 1.5 minutes to answer. So for the first question, we will begin with the District 1 candidates, Mary Alfred and Ramey Eagle Glen. What are the pros and cons of changing elections to single district voting for Alachua County commissioners? Starting with Ramey Eagle Glen.
I advocate for yes on single member voting districts. Right now, we have a very lopsided representation in our county. Because of the densely populated Gainesville City Center, the voters within the Gainesville City Center are essentially deciding how the entire county is going to be run. And people in other areas outside of Gainesville feel that they are not being represented. With single member districts, there's going to be an opportunity for each one of the 5 districts to be able to choose who they want to represent them on the Alachua County Commission, instead of just having the Gainesville Urban Center, the ideals of the Gainesville Urban Center, the party politics of the Gainesville Urban Center, essentially dictating the entire county. We have a lot of unhappy residents who feel voiceless. The main concern that I have people talking about are roads. And we've had one party rule essentially in Alachua County for decades and decades, and the roads aren't getting any better. I think that, yes, on single-member districts will consolidate people's voices, and still, if I am representing District 1, I will represent the entire county because we vote on issues together and consult together on the commission.
Thank you. Mary Alfred, your response.
As a member of the Florida Association of Counties, I had the opportunity to speak with commissioners that were in all kinds of different counties, ones that were single-member districts and some that were at-large, and also a few that had a mix of the two, some at-large and some with districts. And what I found was that the counties with single-member districts competed for resources. The commissioners ended up fighting each other for resources, and money often won. I did not see that single-member districts solved any problems. And personally, I want to advocate for the whole county. I want to bring what I bring to the table, me as an environmental engineer, as an environmental volunteer in many areas, and my knowledge of engineering and roads and infrastructure. I want to bring that to the table for the whole county. I don't want to fight for just my district, which would be in District 1, one of the more well-to-do districts. I want to fight for everybody. And to me, that is an important part of being a commissioner. Yes, we all vote on different issues, but being able to visit all the small towns, not just my small town of Archer, is important to me. And I have relatives in every corner of this county, and I really would like to represent all of them and all my friends and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. The same question now goes to the candidates in District 2, Ed Brady and Mary Helen Wheeler. We're going to start with Mary Helen Wheeler.
Okay. Thank you. Now, I am totally in favor of making sure that we keep the process that we have now. I am elected to District 2, but I serve the entire county, and it's easy for me to work in my district, District 2, which is the High Springs area, and Alachua, across the whole county over into Waldo and Hawthorne. It's easier to understand the issues that are happening in each community and trying then to put these communities together so that they can help each other. We're seeing this done on the the western part of the county, where Newberry is working a new waste management area, treatment center over there that would include Archer and also High Springs, so if they so chose. The whole idea of being able to work the whole county is a matter of developing the county as a whole rather than one section at a time. I don't see the benefit of having one person represent one area. I think that it's going to encourage competition for resources. It's going to encourage people to work not so much together, but for the best interest of that one district. We need to see the growth of the entire county. We need to see all of us succeed together, and we need each municipality to be able to stand on its own with the help of 5 commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Ed Brady, your response.
Okay, I support a vote in favor of single-member districts. Let's just be candid. This is bizarre. We only act like single-member district is some unique phenomenon that might disrupt Alachua County. The next group you're going to hear from, the city of Gainesville, guess what? They have single-member districts. Not a single city commission candidate is advocating abolishing city districts so that they can better represent the whole. And guess what? Having served in both a city district and as mayor of the whole city, there's not a border wall built between districts to keep one commissioner from going over and representing another district or living in another district, let's just say. All right, we have lots of ability to pay attention to what's going on. But I'll correct something that was said about the incumbent commissioners working carefully with other cities. They don't feel that way. Maybe Gainesville City commissioners feel that the county commission works well with them. But I can tell you, municipalities in Alachua and High Springs and now Micanopy and others, they feel bullied. That's the words they use. They feel that they're either ignored or bullied. And citizens in a lot of parts of East Gainesville still feel ignored. So this broad one-size-fits-all obviously isn't working. And come on, let's just apply a little logic. If this works so good, are we concerned about state house districts? What's the difference between 21 and 22? Maybe someone from Orlando should represent us at the state house. Of course, we allow
Thank you.
for
The time has elapsed. Thank you. The candidate in District 4, Ken Cornell, will also now have the opportunity to answer the first question.
Thank you for this question. So we know what this is. This is Tallahassee trying to tell Alachua County how they want to govern us. But we also know that the Representative Clemens and Senator Perry don't believe this is good government. They represent other counties, none of which are single-member districts. We also know that the leader of this movement out in Newberry is a commissioner, and he also doesn't believe this is good government because the city of Newberry is elected at large. So the pro, I get the pro. The pro is if you elect somebody that lives in your district, they know your district better. And that's true. The issue, though, is that most of our issues are countywide issues. So let me walk you through that scenario of if we had a single-member district scenario, and you called the person who you represented you, and you disagreed. Who would then represent you? Nobody. Right now, you have the opportunity to seek representation from the other 4 commissioners who do represent you. So we know what this is. We know that as we educate the voters about this, that they like their form of government. They like the charter that they enacted. And so they're going to vote no on this, I hope. And certainly I would ask that you vote no on this because as your representative, no matter where you live in Alachua County, I represent you.
Thank you. For the second question, we will begin with the District 2 candidates. In your opinion, what requirements are needed to develop acceptable, affordable housing in the county, such as the Dogwood Village or future projects? Starting with Mary Helen Wheeler, your answer.
Thank you very much for that. That's an interesting question you would start with me on. I've taken some, I've caused some controversy over that meeting that we had. If you're familiar with the word zeitgeist, I feel like that's what we're looking at more and more in these times. It's the sign of the times. And what we are looking at is cultural and historical needs that have been ignored when we develop in these communities. We saw this in Archer when we were trying to set up a solar farm, and it was infringing on historic black farms. Here we are looking at the same thing within the city of Gainesville, where we're trying to understand the justice involved in where we put residences. We do need the affordable housing, but we also need to listen to the community where those housing units are going to be placed. We need to understand the historic significance of what people are saying to us and how it's impacting the growth or the progress of these communities. And so this is what we did during the meeting that we had discussing this. We need the affordable housing. That project was a good project, but it did not fit where it was proposed. And this is what we needed to do, is to listen to the community and then to try to find a way to move forward to make sure that we put it in a place where it is not going to be infringing on the rights of those folks who are advocating for their cultural and historic rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Brady, your response.
All right, thank you for the question. Yeah, I do not support government leadership imposing particular types of developments that disrupt sort of an existing development pattern. I defend single-family zoning. I defend multifamily zoning and don't want to impose single-family homes and multifamily dwellings. And the same thing with the question of affordable housing. The real answer to the problem vexing this community, which has been vexing it for a generation because we've had the same exact mindset, is we do not have the conditions for housing affordability, so we come with a program called affordable housing. The regulatory burden to build is sky high here. It's about $80,000 before you turn the first spade of dirt. So if you're going to ask how you get housing that's affordable to people on top of that land development code, you're not. You're simply not. So government gets grants, and we bestow favors on certain developers, but not others. And we say, and then they're put in a catch-22 of trying to impose it in places where people don't want it. So what I would do as a commissioner, what I intend to do, is have us revisit our land development code. Some of you in the audience live in older neighborhoods that were built by Phil Emmer or something, if it's Lincoln Estates or Northwood Oaks. All of that was built for low and middle income families, and it was available, and those houses are still built. They're built well, they're environmentally sound, and all of that. We have abandoned that, and we're never going to have affordable housing until we deal with the underlying conditions.
Thank you. Question 2 now goes to the candidate in District 4. Ken Cornell, your response.
Thank you for the question. This is actually a really, really great question for us to be focused on. We know affordable housing is not only a local issue, we know it's a statewide issue. The Florida Chamber of Commerce says it's the #1 issue in the state of Florida. The previous people that spoke, your representatives, talked about the Sadowski Fund. With regards to Dogwood Village, we did a lot of research with regards to where is our affordable housing built in the county. There's about 4,000 units. There's about 2,100 built in the city of Gainesville, and there's about 1,900 built outside the city of Gainesville. Now, the majority of those built outside the city of Gainesville are on the I-75 corridor. The problem with Dogwood Village is not so much that it's concentration of affordable housing for the county, it's actually a concentration of affordable housing for the city. So the county is sponsoring a project within the city. When you look at the stats in the city, there's 2,100 affordable housing units in the city of Gainesville. 1,800 of them are located east of Main Street. This would further concentrate that affordable housing in a place where our comp plan and the city's comp plan require that we disperse that. So we are working hard with the state and the developer to try to relocate that. And the requirements are that we not concentrate affordable housing in the city.
Thank you. The candidates in District 1 will now address question 2, starting with Mary Alfred.
Thank you. Affordable housing is something that I worked on in my firm, the Sustainable Design Group. We spent a lot of time working in urban areas on affordable housing. So to me, it's important that we first work to keep the affordable housing that we have. And one of the ways that one of the things I brought to the table was a proposal to make $15,000 grants to landlords in exchange for them maintaining affordable housing for a period of up to 7 years. And they would use that $15,000 to make energy efficient upgrades to lower the carrying cost of those units. And that's one of the ways that we can maintain the affordable housing that we have, because that's a significant amount of money. But when you talk about the cost of a homeless family, it's almost nothing. So we also need to look at smart densification, not haphazard densification, but smart densification. We specialize in my office in something called American urbanism, and allowing densification where it makes sense, where it doesn't affect the overall cost and value of neighborhoods is important. So we also need to talk to developers as they are getting approval for their developments, and talk to them about, or before, we can look at requiring it, but we can also, oops, I'm up, sorry.
Thank you. Next is Ramey Eagle Glenn.
The American dream is to own your home and to have your asset, your investment, increase in value. Is that correct? Who would want their home to decrease in value? Anyone? Raise your hand. No, we want our neighborhoods to prosper. We want our property values to go up. And affordable housing has been rebranded from the term the projects. With the Dogwood Village, for example, that project was going to be forced into the Lincoln Estates neighborhood. until the people in that community came to the county commission and said, we don't want this. They don't want it because it's going to drive down their property values. And those people in Lincoln Estates in East Gainesville, they want the exact same thing as everybody else in the county. They want to keep their neighborhood beautiful, and they want it to be in the character that they please. So I am against forcing projects in the neighborhoods that say we don't want them. I just don't know any other way to say it. I listened to the city of Gainesville say that they wanted to intentionally drive down the property values in Gainesville because of climate change. And I listened to these commissioners force their ideals upon a community that said we don't want it. And I am not going to be that commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. For the third and final question, we will begin with the District 4 candidate. Under what conditions, if any, would you approve urban services beyond the current urban cluster boundary? Ken Cornell, your answer.
Thank you. Great question. So 2 years ago, the county commission went through the evaluation and review of the comp plan. And during that evaluation and review, one of the things that we look at is the urban cluster boundary. And the data that we ask for is, do we have enough capacity within the urban cluster to deal with future growth? And if so, for how long? At the time 2 years ago that we looked at that, our staff said that we had capacity already existing for within the urban cluster to deal with population growth for the next 2 decades. Now, what we also know, though, then the pandemic hit. And over the last 2 to 3 years, we have seen an enormous amount of folks moving to Florida. We know that over 1,000 people a day move here. We are also expecting, because of climate change and what we saw with hurricanes like Ian and Irma, that we're going to be having a migration from the coast inland. 76% of people that live in the state of Florida live on the coast. And so this is kind of the question that keeps me up at night, because I try to think about how can we prepare our community for the growth that's coming, whether we want it or not, while still protecting what we know is important. And so I probably did not answer the question, but
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Moving to the candidates in District 1. Starting with Ramey Eagle Glen, your response.
I would approve urban services beyond the current urban cluster boundary when it makes sense. And I look at development projects on a case-by-case basis. Developers are coming into the community and they want to collaborate to offer to us housing and jobs and recreational property. We can conserve in partnership with developers who are going to bring the infrastructure. There is a proposal for a 4,000 acre development that would be outside the urban cluster boundary. And this is going to take several years for the commission and for the community to decide what they want to see happen on this 4,000 acre parcel. I think everyone has to compromise. Yes, we would like Alachua County to stay small, to stay the way it is. And I've lived here since 2008, and that's not happening anymore. We are growing, and we can't just put up a wall around our county and say, you can't come in. And it's true that hurricanes like Ian, which destroyed my hometown, are going to force people to move to Alachua County. That's one of the reasons why I came here. I knew this land was high and dry and protected. And when my family called and the storm surge was coming, I said, this is why I left. And other people are thinking the same, my friends. So let's grow smart.
Thank you. Mary Alfred, your answer.
Thank you. It's a kind of a slippery slope, right? When we first start breaking the boundary of the urban boundary that voters supported and recommended, then the next developer comes along and they're going to also want an exception. We'll be changing our comp plan often, and I really I really am a respecter of the comp plan. It's developed by our citizens, it's supported by our citizens, and maintaining that comp plan is important to me. So in that case, I can't see many cases where I would approve urban services outside of the urban cluster. And one exception might be is if, for instance, the city of Archer would like to partner with the city of Gainesville to get wastewater. That would be good for everybody. But if we did that, I would feel that we would need to limit development between Archer and Gainesville so that we can maintain the parts of Alachua County that make us special and great and desirable. There are other ways to develop besides suburban development, and we need to do that. We need to basically use up what makes sense and what we have before we start moving into the places that are the most valuable to the citizens here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the candidates in District 2 will address our final question. Starting with Ed Brady, your response.
So I'm going to try and tackle it in two ways. First, I want to address something Commissioner Cornell mentioned about 2 years ago. They had this review. 2 years ago, we had a referendum, and this perfectly answers the question of whether or not people in the outlying areas feel represented. Referendum about whether local municipalities could control their own future land use urban services, and it was taken away, advocated for by this county commission, but in a referendum by the voters, and the voters, it was skewed. It was the yes vote to take it away was concentrated in the city of Gainesville, and everyone else on the outside overwhelmingly said, no, we want to make our own decisions for the future. So that was removed. So there's one answer. Now, to the specific question about would I approve urban services, look, I'm a Gator. I came here. I learned about supply and demand. We just had a question about affordable housing. What happens when you artificially constrict supply? Prices go up. There's a reason, if you talk to a lot of developers here, why they build very few homes. They do some custom homes, but they go out, and we get out-of-town developers coming in here with their sort of rote standards. And how many of you see a new development going up and it's in the luxury category? It's $350,000 or more. It's the only way they can make a return on their investment. Only way. The Phil Emmers, the ones who built Lincoln Estates and Northwood Oaks and others, they can't make it count, so they don't. And so that's the dilemma we're faced in.
Thank you. And Mary Helen Wheeler, your answer.
Thank you. We are watching our municipalities annex more and more land into their areas to increase their tax base. What we're seeing is these boundaries are being pushed further and further out from the municipalities, not just Gainesville, but the outlying areas are growing too, to the point where we're almost seeing what's looking like townships, where one boundary hits up against another municipal boundary to the point where there's not a lot of unincorporated land left. And that's where we're looking, as that unincorporated land. My concern is sustainability. Water has been an issue of mine for over 20 years now. And as we're watching our climate refugees coming closer and closer to the middle of the state, it's not only people moving here from the north, but it's also people moving within the state. They are taxing these resources to the point where we are really in danger of not having enough water to support what it is we're advertising here. And as we're watching the oceans rise, which we are, and we're dealing with things like saltwater intrusion into our systems, we are running a great risk of expanding more and more without being able to sustain those natural resources that we are required to keep us alive. And so we're seeing the growth, but we're seeing it from the expansion, not out of Gainesville, not just out of Gainesville, but the outlying municipalities as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the closing statements, and each candidate will have 1 minute. We will hear the candidates' closing statements in the reverse order by both district and name from the opening statements. So we will begin with the District 4 candidate. Ken Cornell, your closing statement, please.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you for this opportunity. I was first elected in 2014. In 2018, I was unopposed. And it was, I guess, one of the first times that a county commissioner had been unopposed. They're trying to get me back now. I got 2 opponents, which is fine. But I love my job. I love serving my community. I'm born and raised here. I would ask that if you have an opportunity to stop by my table, there's a number of things that we have accomplished over the last 8 years while I've been on the commission, and I'd like to continue to do that good work for our community. 6.5 minutes probably is not enough for you to get to know me. I would love the opportunity to speak directly to you, for you to get to know more about me. I would also offer my cell phone if you ever want to call me. My number is 352-281-4000. I work for you, I serve you, and it's been my pleasure, and I'd ask for your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear the closing statements from the District 2 candidates, beginning with Mary Helen Wheeler.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we got it. Thank you very much. Everything that he said, I feel the same way. I just want to say that as a retired school teacher, I have had a vast experience in this community, and it's what I bring to the board in terms of community services, following young people who are used to be my students or in their 20s and 30s now, who need the resources of a community that did not provide for them to go to college. VOTEC is a big thing for me, making sure that we have substance abuse treatment. I lost a son to the streets of Gainesville from substance abuse. It's something I know well. Social services issues, housing. We got to careers. I work with Career Source, make sure that a lot of our young people go through and use the resources that we have. Housing, supportive housing, affordable housing, people throw that around like it's a dirty word. I'm telling you, we've got to make sure that there's a whole nother group of people in this community that need the support that I can represent them to make sure that they get. So another 4 years is what I need to be able to work with this man and the commission that we have now to do the work that we need to get done here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Brady, your closing statement, please.
Ed Brady, edbrady.com. Of course, Mary Helen Wheeler agrees with Ken Cornell. She lives in his district. It's a part of the question unspoken here by the moderator is the question of where people actually live in their district. There is an ongoing discussion. It's not a discussion. Lawsuits have been filed and all of that because there's been this game played where people say, wink, wink, nod, nod, I live here, and then they don't. And at some point it matters. It may not matter in this election, but, you know, I just know where the shoes reverse, oh my gosh, there'd be a lot of talk there. Look, I'm a Gator, went to Santa Fe, went to UF, had a great relationship with the University of Florida. We worked on the student context area, partnering with GPD and UPD. I created the Freedom in Motion Plan in partnership with the University of Florida, was given the Sandine Award for Outstanding Public Servant in this area for my efforts in working with the University of Florida. Have built great relationships and look forward to continuing. So Ed Brady, Alachua County Commission, District 2.
Thank you. And finally, we will hear the closing statements from the District 1 candidates, beginning with Ramey Eagle Glenn. Your closing statement, please.
There is a culture in Alachua County that's been in place for a long time, and I've been invited to the table, and I see, because I'm an outsider now, welcome to the table, that we need to make some changes, and these are cultural changes that are going to take half a decade or a decade or so. We need to reprioritize, and we need to take care of our roads. We need to take care of our essential services of government, our sheriff's deputies, our fire rescue. If we can't take care of these essential services of government, then we need to take a step back from what I call wasteful spending. We're a cash-strapped county because the university owns half the land and we don't reap property tax benefits from that. We have to reprioritize the culture of Alachua County. We pay the highest property taxes in the state, and we get homestead exemptions when we live at our property, correct? The people who are voting for progressive policies are not paying
Excuse me, the time has elapsed.
their share
I'm
of
so
property
sorry.
taxes.
Thank you. And Mary Alfred, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. I've spent over half my life working to protect the environment here in Alachua County, and I want to be able to be a decision maker in that. I also am very concerned about climate disruption. I'm running a climate neutral campaign, as a matter of fact, and I have the background to help plan for the changes that are coming to Alachua County in a way that doesn't compromise the wonderful place that we have. Actually, Ms. Glenn talked a lot about what I also believe about infrastructure. We need to really focus on the core responsibilities of our county, and part of that is being prepared for future climate disruption. Finally, the county charter. I am a big supporter in maintaining what we have here and fighting Tallahassee when they do things like make us vote on something that we've already voted on. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the panel for Alachua County Commissioner Districts 1, 2, and 4. Thank you, candidates, for your participation and your thoughtful answers today.
All